everybody, I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to another awesome episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
That's right. And on the show today, we have our very good friend, Mr. Pape. Paul was in one of the biggest movies ever made, period, right?
Iconic.
We're going to be talking about that, so listen up. He's also been in the voiceover business for over 40 years. He's got a lot to say and a lot to teach. You're going to have a good time today.
We are going to have a good time today. And you're going to have a good time this month too, Chuck.
I'm going to have
Pray tell, what are you doing?
I'm going to have a really rockin' time. My band Rock Sugar, that I'm in with Jess Harnell and a few other buddies. A lot of you know about it. If you don't, you need to check it out. We are playing at Harris Lake Tahoe, July 27th. It's a Saturday night, so you have no excuse not to be there. Check it out. Go to Facebook /Rock Sugar Band, and you'll see all the info there.
Awesome.
What about you? What's going on with Disney? I hear that there's some Disney stuff happening.
Must do Disney fans. There's some new stuff, and I am going to be in the Florida heat, bringing it to you. This is what I do for you. Hydrate, hydrate.
Stacey's back!
So look out, Orlando. I'm coming for you.
Stacey's coming to Orlando. Get down. Wow.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got?
Hey, let's do a viewer email.
Okay.
It's an awesome email from Mark in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Wilmington is a beautiful place.
Yes.
Okay, Mark says, I am so happy to say I found your show last January, and I look forward to your show every single week. For someone like me who's working towards making voiceovers a full-time career, the information you provide is priceless. Your guests are top-notch, and your show keeps me inspired. I couldn't imagine a newbie like me being successful without VO Buzz Weekly. Also, thanks to Chuck for taking the time to consult with me as we get set to build my new demo. Yes! His advice and direction are invaluable, and I look forward to the process. One day, I hope to sit on the couch and tell your viewers how I made it in voiceovers thanks to a little buzz. Keep on keeping on, Chuck and Stacey.
That's
Sweet.
Awesome, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thank
I have to
you.
correct you, though. You will not be sitting on the couch because that means you're going to take over my spot,
Yeah.
and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll have you on the chair right over there. Huh?
Nice.
Let's talk to Paul.
Okay. Well, simply said, our guest is the king of ADR. He can be heard in hundreds of TV shows and films like CSI New York, The Mentalist, Avatar, Argo, and Wreck-It Ralph, just to name a very few. He was one of the main voices on President Obama's 2012 re-election campaign, and he is one of the co-founders of the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab here in Los Angeles. We are so excited to welcome back to VO Buzz Weekly our friend and fellow Neumann-endorsed artist, the amazing Pape.
Thank you.
Yeah! Look at him. He's like so cool and suave. He's like, thank you.
Please,
there,
no
buddy.
autographs, please.
That king of ADR is a big setup right out of the gate.
I don't know about that, buddy. I mean,
Seriously.
you definitely
I've been at it
know.
a while.
You've been at it a while. You definitely know what you're doing. The king
Listen,
is
here's
deserved.
the deal. When you're doing the IMDb, and you guys should get a snack and check it out. It's
Yes.
like when you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. You know, there's a
Yeah.
part where you get to like Prince status, and you know,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you scroll more than 3 times on IMDb,
Yeah.
you're king.
you're king.
I'll accept
just how
up
it
there,
goes.
but there's a few other people that share that plateau with me.
Absolutely.
Probably have something to say.
Of course.
Yes.
We're not saying that you're the only king.
Okay,
You
there
are,
you go.
you
There are
are
many
in that,
kings.
but you are in that.
I'm a
very,
king.
I can live with that. Yeah.
But you're in that. There's a group of you
Yeah.
guys and gals that are like rocking it. so.
Absolutely.
Fortunate and grateful.
And
Well
I
deserved.
want to touch on this Neumann thing real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Endorsed artist, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
How long?
Oh, not that long. I mean, I think it was the Obama campaign that really tripped it over. And,
Oh,
you know,
beautiful.
Neumann and Sennheiser, which have traditionally been endorsing musicians, have
Yeah.
been very smart to catch on to voiceover artists
They
now
have.
and the
Yes.
increasing profile. And they've been great about, you know, bringing some of us into the fold
Yep.
that can help their efforts. And they've brought you guys in as well.
Absolutely.
Well deserved as well,
Yep.
I might
Thank
add.
you.
And anything I can, you know, and it's, for me, it's a no-brainer because their products, they're in
Yeah.
my home studio, they're everywhere. I love those
Yep,
guys.
absolutely.
So you're a U87 guy, right?
U87,
416.
416, TLM 102. You know, I've got their labs. I've got them. I'm wearing
Yes,
one
we're
right
wearing
now.
labs,
You
yes.
are
This
absolutely
is yours, but I actually own 2 of my own.
beautiful, man.
You never know when it'll come.
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
BYOL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's,
well, I
it's
mean,
an easy
I-
thing for me to endure. So let's forget the headphones and everything else.
Exactly, yeah. They're an amazing
Exactly.
company. Chris Courier is an awesome guy.
Chris Courier rocks. Chris,
Chris?
you're watching
We
this.
love you.
You rock. And
Yeah.
of course, Neumann Sennheiser rocks
Yes.
always.
Yes.
I want to start by asking you, man, you started your career in theater, then you went on to film and television.
Correct.
Correct? And we're going to get into that too, but I want to know, how did you find your way into voiceover?
Well, I needed, it was funny because I had a little
He doesn't
quiet.
know.
No. I was doing pretty well in on camera, and then I had a bit of a quiet period, and then I had the opportunity to do some voiceovers, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity to, make a little extra money. I really went into it thinking it was extra money, and I really didn't give the craft the respect it deserved,
Because you didn't know,
because
right?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was theater trained. I had a degree in drama, and then I just threw in and I decided to try it, and they liked what I did. And this particular producer I worked for in the first job actually happened to have a couple of other things. And he said, well, I want that guy for the next thing and the next thing. And this gave the people that cast me more confidence. And one thing led to another. And, I'm, 28, 29 years in now to it in ADR, but I've also spread out since then.
Sure.
I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to cover a lot of different areas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and ADR is not a easy nut to crack there. I mean, there are people that are like, how do I get into that? And people tell them, well, you don't.
Well, can you explain, because some people know what that means, and as you know, we're an acronym-driven society. But for people who don't know what ADR for TV and film is, can you explain what it is that you do?
ADR stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement. Some people think that means automatic dialogue recording. There's a million different things.
Yeah.
In the very, very old days, it was referred to as WALA. That's a term that still sticks around today, although I think it's a little derogatory to how it's evolved. Basically, when a film is shot, there's principal photography, and they need to keep the principal's dialogue basically pristine, so they record them. Anybody in the background or any additional sound effects, that just interrupts the principal. They want to keep it clean on its own track, so when they mix, it's a pretty pristine thing.
Right.
And as sound technology developed, they realized there was a need to create better background effects other than just canned stuff.
Right.
Or people saying peas and carrots, like they used to say, just mumbling in the old days.
Yeah.
And so ADR was developed. In fact, I wonder, do you happen to know what the first feature film, which had what they call group or looping or ADR in it? Do you have any idea?
Ooh, it's one of
Piece
those
of trivia for you?
Trivia questions.
I hate when I get stumped.
It was Jaws.
Jaws.
It was Jaws.
Wow.
Jaws was the very first film that was ever done with group looping. And then it sort of developed from there. And when I started in the 80s, there was really only about 4 or 5 people that were casting this kind of work.
Right.
There was Lee French, there was Barbra Harris, there was the guy I came up under, Bert Sharp, who taught me a lot, and I still owe him a lot for that. And there was another lady named Mickey McGowan. And there was another woman, Allison Kane, who sort of started the whole thing, but it sort of developed from there. In fact, Lee was on that job at Jaws the first time it was ever done. So for a long time, there was only 4 or 5 or 6 people casting and doing this kind of thing. So I had this opportunity to come in and develop during this period. And it was a great thing. And I was still doing on camera on the side, and little by little. And it developed over the years. Sound technology developed. Sound equipment became better. You've got what now?
Huge.
7.1 surround. You've got so everything gets heard.
We're recording the show in 7.1 surround sound.
So there you go.
Ish.
But we need to bring group in then and create a little background.
Yeah. You're going to provide our ADR. You could be our studio audience.
Yeah, I'll just do all this. When we're done here, we'll do a little session.
We have plenty of tracks.
We're glad to help out. But, with sound technology, it's actually made the skill a lot more than just doing background voices. It's very, very specific. The sound is heard. What happens in the background has developed to a much greater degree.
Yeah.
And therefore, it requires more precision in what you do. In the old days, we had to be able to do, in the old days, listen to me.
Yeah. I say that all the time, although the old days in voiceover is like 3 years ago.
It's moved so fast.
Let's face it. Look at this. It's the old days. In the old days, we worked, the very first days, we had streamers that would go across the screen, and then that would be our cue point. And then they went to beeps, electronic beeps, and that sort of thing. And then, but we had to actually be able to do sync in those days. Say we were replacing, it's not just background voices, we also do voice replacement, we do voice matching. You have to really be able to act with your voice, we do everything from somebody on a phone to, well, there's any number of things you're called upon to do during the day. So the more versatile you are, the more you're going to work.
Because you don't know what you're going to do. So you have to, your accents, your dialects, your skill sets have to be pretty broad and fine-tuned. I mean, do you...
Accents, research. You have to be able to do research to be effective. In the old days, we used to screen the movies. Bert Sharp was actually well known for that, the man that taught me. We would screen the movie. But the more piracy is snuck in, the less time, they're less likely they are to release copies of the movie. So we end up getting an idea of what we have to do, and then we come in. But we could be called upon to do 9, 10, 12, 13. You never know what you're going to get called upon.
They're coming to get you, man.
Uh-oh.
Cops.
Those parking tickets, Paul. Got to pay them, man.
Sucks.
They give me the envelope.
You know.
They give me the envelope.
Hell, parking tickets.
Please send a booklet of stamps to Paul Pape.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'll give you my address. We're holding a telethon. The Paul Pape Parking Violation Fund.
This is the ADD section of the show.
The ADD. Yeah. Anyways, with this technology, it requires more expertise. You got to know what you're talking about.
Absolutely, man.
You know, because it's heard effectually. So it can't be just something generic. It has to fit the picture.
Yeah.
And the technical demands are a lot greater. Do you remember a picture called Irobot?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome movie.
All right. So you know Will Smith would encounter, like, his mother or grandmother, rather, had a brand new NS5 robot, right? She was, I was the voice of that robot. And what they did, though, with that is they actually came in and filmed us doing the lines and then CGI'd our voices into the robots' faces.
Oh, wow.
So that's actually our mouths speaking, but they've been CGI'd.
That's cool.
So it's developed to that effect, you know. So ADR is an interesting field because you have to be able to do research, you have to be able to act with your voice, you have to be able to do sync. Sync is still important, but less important, believe it or not, than it used to be, because with Pro Tools, they can slide things into place.
Hello.
Yeah.
If you're a beat late, they can slide you
That's
back in.
easy.
As long as you got the read.
Yeah.
The voice matching, they can bend your voice. If you're in the zone, they know how to take the highs, the lows out. They know all that.
Yep.
And having a studio of my own, it certainly helps because I'll work with the engineers sometimes, and you know I kind of know where they're going for. But it's a kind of a very specific skill set. You know, it's not
really,
just
really
standing
is.
in front and reading copy. And it adds an awful lot to a movie. And there are directors that take that whole area of it quite seriously now.
You've worked with some amazing directors in your career. Do they come to the ADR session?
Some directors take it very seriously, others don't. I've worked with Oliver Stone several times, Taylor Hackford probably 3 or 4 times. I've worked with the Coen brothers. I've worked with... I thought that one of the most interesting experiences was with Barbra Streisand. And it was a picture many years ago called The Mirror Has Two Faces.
I love that movie.
Remember that movie? Yeah.
Yes.
She thinks...
I still watch it every weekend.
I love that movie.
I had a great experience. Another terrific ADR actress by the name of Bridget Hoffman and I, we came up in the business together. We had to do this scene at a bar where I think Jeff Bridges and whoever the other character was, and we were just this couple at the bar behind them. And Barbra... who everybody said, Barbra Streisand's coming in. You know, she turned out to be just awesome. And what she thought, she thinks musically, compositionally. So she said, I want to come up with something that you two are talking about that is subtly influencing their conversation. Because in a real bar, people might be picking up something from you that they may not be listening to directly, but it's influencing what they're saying. So let's come up. I thought that was a great,
very interesting,
really subtle stroke, you know. I've worked Kevin Costner. He was right in there with us, jumping around on Dances with Wolves and a couple other things I've done with him.
Is it better when they do show up?
When they're engaged and they see the value of what you can bring to a movie, they get, and first-time directors, it's kind of nice to work with first-time directors who don't know what ADR can bring to a movie, and if they let you run with it and they go with it, and then they go, holy moly, that's amazing. I was going to say something else, but
I know you were, but we're going to bleep you up.
Stay the hell away from
we don't let people do that on VO Buzz Weekly, man.
No.
It's a family show.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Really?
Yeah. Anyways, not in between takes, I'll tell you that.
But the requirements are really specific now. They're much more. And I think in a lot of ways that makes it tougher a field to break into. Because the skill set requires that you be so much more specific in what you're doing.
Which was my next question.
Because you obviously don't have an ADR demo.
No.
So how can somebody even...
This is why it's really difficult to break into this part of the business. People know people, they get in, but usually people that have been doing it a while, they know right away if somebody's got that unique skill set.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean you shouldn't try for it or whatever. But I think the pressure on people coming in today is a lot tougher than it was for me, because I'm one of the people that actually helped develop the craft.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
Right.
and I grew along with it, you know. But people coming in today are required to do an awful lot right out of the gate. And I think they either underestimate it, you know,
Sure.
or it sort of eats them alive, because you need to be able to improv really well.
Yep.
You need to have a lot of BS in your head that you can really come up with at the drop of a hat. You know, these sound stages aren't cheap.
Right.
And you can't do it at home like you can. Well, actually, you can do ADR from your home. I know a lot of people don't know that. You need to have, I actually have the equipment, Dolby Fax and all that, but you need a second set of ISDN lines. One carries the time code, the other one carries, you know,
Wow.
and then you get a quick time of the picture, drop it into Pro Tools, and you can sync. But it's a little bit more elaborate to do that.
Sure.
I've got
Yeah.
that set up. I'm actually working with friends at Warner Brothers now, because I do stuff for airlines films, and we're working to put that together. A lot of the studios still use that, even though the technology is behind the time.
We're talking way high tech here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like beyond high
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to be a voiceover artist today, you might as well be you got to
Gotta
be a bit
embrace
of
some
an engineer
intent-
too.
yeah.
You have to know what
You
you're
gotta
doing
get
when it
into it.
comes to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And the home is becoming the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if I'm just doing a commercial or a political ad or whatever from home, look at what's expected of us now versus 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got to have those chops. That's
Absolutely.
part of the deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not going to pay you for that.
No.
Time. That's just part of what you do.
No.
Well, let's talk
at all.
about your political spots, Paul.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, that's another specific niche of voiceover. What can you share about doing that kind of work? Because it moves very quickly, especially during campaign seasons. I mean, you're on
it's
call.
funny. You never know where your next thing is coming from. ADR has been kind of a constant. It's bread and butter, and I do commercials and I'll do narrations or something
Right.
when they come
Yeah.
up. But this political thing sort of came out of the blue, you know, and a lot of people in town were auditioning to be one of the voices of the Obama campaign, and they really vetted us. They put me through 3 or 4 demos and the agents, da-da-da-da.
Did they do the background check, Paul?
I believe they did. I'm
Really?
told they did.
And you, okay.
I'm
good.
told that they do background checks on you, but they just want to make sure, you know, anything in a campaign, they just want to make sure that you don't
Yeah.
have
Right.
anything. And one of the agencies I worked for in Washington, I worked for 2 agencies during the campaign, GMMB and Putnam Partners, both great, but they basically do political advertising.
You should write those down
Yeah.
if you're interested in doing political work, voiceover.
GMMB, yeah. GMMB did $47 million alone of advertising during the presidential
Wow.
campaign. They're big.
That's big.
Yeah. I auditioned for this. They tested me. I did something for the American Jobs Act before the campaign. That's kind of where I got run through the paces. And then they liked it, and I ended up segueing. And what was really interesting about that, I was doing a lot of spots. I think I did 12 or 15 spots for the campaign. I think 6 or 7 ran. Most of them ran in battleground states, because that's where they were spending their media money.
Sure.
Right.
Here in California, you hardly ever saw it at all, because
No.
they already felt this state was pretty locked up.
Yeah.
But it was out there, and it was all over the net. And but what was the interesting offshoot of that is that they got comfortable with me, and the next thing I knew, they were calling me to do senatorial campaigns all over the country, and
Yeah.
some of the key ones. And there were some people I really wanted to get after.
Yeah.
You know. The thing, I mean, I really wanted to do those
Yeah,
spots
yeah.
because I really believed in
Yeah, of course.
not getting that guy elected.
Yeah.
And I think I had something like, of the campaigns I supported, I had like an 85% rate where they got elected. So that was pretty good.
That's damn
Nice.
good.
Yeah. And they were, I worked with, these agencies are great people. Phil DeVellis and Mark Putnam at Putnam Partners, and their crew over there, and Debbie and all the producers I worked with at GMMB. There's a lot of them. And the campaign people. The interesting thing about there's 2 things about doing political things. One is I feel a sense of responsibility to the message. I'm not a voiceover artist, probably because I'm lucky enough to make a good living.
Sure.
I'm not going to just take on a political message that I don't believe
That
in.
you don't believe in.
I won't
Good for
just
you.
straddle both lines.
Yeah.
I won't do that to
But
people.
that's Paul Pape.
know.
That's how you run your life.
Is there like a little halo, like up here?
Which
in
is
the-
what we love about Paul. That's why he's here.
You know. Oh,
because he is that guy.
God.
You
Between
are,
that and
man.
King, you're
Well, you
really
stayed-
setting
You had
me
a
up.
good teacher, man.
You are
and
setting
we're going
me
to talk
up.
about
I had
him.
a good dad.
Yeah, you had a good
I got a
dad.
few go. Another guy you're talking.
Yeah. How
No,
many?
you stay true to.
How many
Yeah.
demos for political do you have?
Do you know it all happened so fast?
You don't have one?
No, I got about 35 spots all of a sudden.
Well, you do now.
That I need to now cobble together and make a
And
demo.
make- okay.
Yeah.
But it's just working out, because
Yeah.
this is a relatively new thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
What's the second
the,
thing about?
The other thing
yeah.
about political is there will be times I'm 3,000 miles away standing just this solo little guy in a booth, and there's 7 people on the other end, and you feel the pressure in the room of the campaign. And you feel like, what do they really want out of this?
Yeah.
And they're dissecting every little bit. Then they take it off and they'll run it past a focus group. They'll come back. They'll change a line. They'll do this or this. And the first few times that can be sort of daunting. And you go, Paul, can you hold on a second? We're going to talk about this. And
Yeah.
you're like going, sure.
Did I do something wrong?
And then
Yeah.
you just got to say to yourself as a voiceover artist, I do what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to stay with my voice, my signature thing. I'm going to live
Yeah.
to it. It works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. And that's, you live and die by who you are, and
Very good.
I think that just comes, through working and believing in yourself and all that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Having
Those
confidence
years of
that
experience,
you are the
yeah.
man. So, you were in an iconic movie that everybody out there pretty much knows, Saturday Night Fever, 1977. You were Double J.
Double
Right.
J.
Check that out.
Yeah. Still got it, don't I?
How did you get that part, man? I mean,
Auditioned. I was living in New York, and there was a wonderful casting director by the name of Shirley Rich, who's no longer with us, but she was just a terrific believer in young talent. And I came in, and my family had been from New York. My grandmother was from Brooklyn, and I grew up upstate.
Yeah.
But I was, I'm not Italian, but I was raised by 70% Italians. Most of the kids I
so
went
you
to
got
high
the
school.
Italian out.
I was raised by
By,
Italians, basically.
by osmosis, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was very familiar territory to me. And Shirley, they were looking for somebody. They had been through one director, John Avildsen, who had directed Rocky.
Right.
And then they ended up replacing him, and I came in when John Badham was there. And I had audition, and I just came to audition. It was actually one of the first auditions I ever did for film. So I figured I had nothing to lose. So Shirley said, you're the right look, you're the right size, which I thought was kind of strange because I had hair down to my shoulders. I wore fry boots and overalls. But, yeah. And I got through.
Yeah.
Rock. I always wanted to be a rock star.
Dude, I know all about you,
It's
man.
not too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late to rock.
You
Paul.
still
I
are
did.
a rocker, dude.
I really did.
Yeah.
I still do in my heart.
I know.
I want to be Chuck Duran.
Well, I don't know about Chuck Duran, but,
But
he
I do.
wants to be
I
a
do.
rocker.
Just want to get it out there. I want to be Chuck Duran.
All right. Well, I want to be Paul Pape. How's that?
Done.
There you go.
Done.
Let's switch.
Switch.
That movie.
Switched it for it. Yes.
Switch.
They have a show in a few weeks, Paul, so you got to get up to speed. So,
Oh, gosh.
so work on it.
I went and I did an audition with about 3 or 4 other guys. And what I remember most about the audition, I was pretty loose because I really wanted to sort of get the audition over because I really fell in love with a redhead who was waiting to audition in the outer lobby.
Nice.
So, I went in and did it. I was kind of half, and then I just went in and had fun.
There you go.
And they needed us to do our thing, and I was just being me. I was in pretty loose when I did, and I got a call from my agents, a few days later, and they said, well, you're not in the union yet. We don't know how you did it, but you got one of 2 roles. It's going to either be about 12, 15 weeks of work, or it's going to be one of the smaller ones, and we'll let you know. And I got a call about a day or so later saying, okay, well, your first feature, you're booked for like 13 weeks or something like that.
So you got the big one.
I got the big one.
And you were, in the movie, you were basically Travolta's buddy. his
Yeah,
best
Yeah.
friend,
pretty
right?
much the guess they kind of looked at like the lieutenant in the game.
Right.
But none of us at the time, none of us had any idea that this
That
movie
this was
going
going
to
to be
what it would
right.
be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It became more than just a hit movie. It became
It was a
Yeah.
movement.
it was a social phenomena.
Completely, dude.
Yeah. So,
It was,
and
like,
I'm
it was like the
grateful.
Jaws of dancing.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, it turned out in a lot of ways, though, to sort of be the death of my on-camera career because it was so much so fast.
Yeah.
And I was overwhelmed by it, and I just didn't really, it was too much. I was 24, 25 years old,
Yeah.
and I just was not up to speed to handle that. and I came out to California, and it was while that was overwhelming me, and I was trying to figure out what to do.
But what part of it was overwhelming you?
Just
Just the fact that you were in this huge movie? Or?
Well, yeah. When something like that happens to you, if you're not prepared to know how to parlay, to understand that you're in a business as well as in art, and that you need to do, you're just kind of overwhelmed by people that are coming out of the work, people you haven't seen in years, versus people want something from you. And this very strange thing happens to you. You suddenly realize people don't want you for who you are, but what you are. And there's money to be made over you. There's something to be made of it. And here I am. I'm still thinking, this is just a building block for me.
Sure.
I'm brand new. And I'm in an agency with all these big actors all of a sudden. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And I don't want to admit it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It works on you.
He faked it?
Yeah.
Till he made it.
So what I did...
And then he kept faking it.
Actually, what I didn't fake it. I had fool's courage.
Yeah.
I was good. And I'll give myself, I'm not saying that in a bragging way, but I was confident in what I did.
Yeah.
And I went in there and I had the talent, and I was part of an acting company in New York I had been accepted into that. I was doing my apprenticeship with them, and we had Danny DeVito and Rio Perlman and Michael O'Keefe and Jeff Goldblum, a lot of great actors that I trained with. And that was where I was doing my apprenticeship. But I was just in the beginning stages, and then this thing just like whacked me.
It's like...
And I'm great, but in hindsight, I'm so grateful for it. It was my entree into the business.
Probably taught you a lot, right?
And I got I have a piece of film history. A lot of people can't say that, and I got it very early. So it was a struggle for me on my on-camera career.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today in this business. I wouldn't have been able to succeed ultimately in whatever I did without it. So I'm extremely grateful for it. And
exactly.
A couple of years ago, our film was preserved for all time by the National Film Registry, and I'm really grateful.
That's
it's
beautiful.
A pretty cool thing.
Well, we're proud of you, buddy. We really are.
I'm proud of you.
Every time I talk to people, whenever I talk to people and they go, "Oh yeah, I know Pape. Oh yeah, hey, have you seen his movie?" Because I always bring it up. It's my favorite, one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm one of those guys.
This is Spinal Tap.
Hold on, totally. Well, that's my second favorite. But I'm one of those guys that actually likes you for who you were.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Not who you are.
So what am I doing here today?
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding,
This is
Paul.
going well.
I love you, buddy. You're my pal.
Well, let's go from the dance floor to the poker table.
Oh.
Want to?
That's quite a segue.
It's a big difference.
Well, you're referring then to the upcoming Don LaFontaine Poker Classic.
Yep. August 24th here in Los Angeles.
Yep. Yes. At an incredible venue, which we need to keep secret.
Oh, yes. The venue is secret for now?
The venue is secret.
All I could tell you is it's on the grounds of a home that was built in 1850.
Wow. So everybody's going to want to go.
Yeah. It's an absolutely
Can we tell people how they can purchase?
Sure.
Yes.
It's sponsored by the SAG Foundation, which has built the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab, which... I know you've probably talked about that many times.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about it.
And all the proceeds go to benefit voiceover artists and the development and success of voiceover artists. I say that to you directly, whatever can. And this is an opportunity for people to come together. It's going to be the voiceover event of the year.
The voiceover event of the year.
It's wonderful. I was there last year. We're going to be there this year. I mean, seriously, it is such an incredible event, and everyone's there. There's so much just fun and love and excitement because everyone's there for the same goal. And I mean, I will say you have to really know your stuff if you're going to sit at one of those tables. If you're
going to sit at the table. But the important thing to know is that you don't have to be a poker player.
Yes. It's great.
We have hundreds of guests that come. There's a silent auction, just the grounds, walking around the grounds. Great food. There's music. This is a lot more than just the poker tournament. Yeah. This year we have a lot more celebrities that we'll be bringing in, and it's growing every year, so it's getting to be...
And last year, remember, we ended the night disco dancing. So
yes, we did.
Double J will make an appearance.
Yes,
Double J will make an appearance. Get down.
He's like, please stop saying that.
He's like, please.
If there's enough donated, Double J will.
Double J will. You're going to wear the outfit?
He dances for money now.
Yeah. It's for a good cause,
but it's for a good cause.
Yes.
Well, that's all we have for today because I have to go rehearse for a big show with Rock Sugar, and Stacy has to learn some lines for Disney. But we'll see you next week for part 2.
Yes, and keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly, you guys. Take care until next time, and just remember,
you always have time for a little buzz.